I've got many cameras. Expensive, cheap, big, small, rare, common, automated, manual. However, of all the cameras I own, this one stands out. This camera looks like a kid's toy camera. And spoiler alert, it is. It's pink, has dinosaurs on it, makes this bubbly click sound, comes with some markers in the box, it even has games on it. So overall, probably not the type of camera you might associate with professional work. And yet this camera fundamentally changed my photography and probably had the most profound impact on my creative professional work from all of the cameras I got in the last years. Therefore, in this video I will show you why it might be a good idea for you to pick one of these up yourself. But in case you're new to the channel, first off, hi, my name is Karin Majuka and I'm a photographer based in Germany. I shoot a mixture of digital and film in various formats, ranging from 35mm to large format, and apparently also pink dinosaur cameras. And the story why I decided to experiment with a kid's toy camera actually started with this image here. This is a portrait of me that Maya, a now friend but at that moment still stranger, took of me at a photographer's meetup in summer last year. She took out the toy camera out of her bag, snapped an image and handed it to me. It was the first time in a very long time that I encountered a photography medium or photography format that wasn't familiar to me yet, besides being a big gearhead thinking that I saw everything so far. I took the photo, or rather sticker, home, put it on my film scanner to accompany the other photography-related stickers I've collected over the years, and I instantly knew that I had to get a camera like that, because this was a camera unlike any other camera I've used so far. But what makes this little thing so special? This camera basically works like a hybrid digital and instant camera. It takes images with an insane resolution of 12 megapixels, which, not gonna lie, look more like 5. You have an SD card slot so that you can actually transfer and work with the digital files. But what's much more interesting actually is the possibility to print images, like you would do with an instant camera. However, this camera doesn't use a chemical process like Polaroid or Instax, but a method of thermal printing, using heat to imprint an image on paper. No chemicals, no ink, but pure instant simplicity. So basically this is the same process used with printing receipts at the supermarket. The camera sounds a bit like a dying computer from the 90s and like it might break while printing, but you get used to the sound after a while. The prints coming out of this thing have this high contrast, gritty black and white look with a rather rough texture. In fact, this look that reminds me a bit of Daido Moriyama's work actually is what makes the charm of this camera to me. The resolution isn't great, the details don't hold up, but it certainly has character and helps quite a lot to envision the world in black and white. When taking an image, you can either print it directly or just take it to save it on the SD card without actually printing it straight away. Also, it's possible to print out the same photo several times, so when taking a group photo, for example, everybody can get their own copy. It also has a video mode, which I have to admit I haven't used much yet. The games, on the other hand, might have distracted me from taking photos here and there. One of the biggest benefits of this camera, however, is the cost per shot. With an Instax or Polaroid camera, you have to pay around 1 to 2 euros per shot, and it comes with only 8 to 10 shots per pack. Therefore, taking a portrait of a stranger and handing it to them is nothing that you can do all the time, at least not without being broke, and thus, well, it's very understandable that you kind of think twice before pressing the shutter. With this camera, on the other hand, you get quite a lot of shots per roll, and one shot only costs a couple of cents, so only a fraction of the price. I actually got this camera during the Black Friday sale, and for whatever reason, this Christmas edition was the cheapest option, so I paid roughly 25 euros for the camera, accessories and an extra large pack of sticker paper. I knew I wanted to try it out and play with it for a little while, but I didn't know yet how much I would actually use it and how significantly it would affect my photography in general. But there was actually one project in particular that I had in mind for this camera, which I also think is the perfect use case for it. 1 photo a day. I've always wanted to be more coherent with my photography and have more consistency to my work. And one project that particularly inspired me to do so is the project Mirror by the artist couple Louis K and Huang Huang. The couple did a project where both of them took 1 photo of each other per day for several years. The images were paired up together as diptychs and connected through the date in the middle. The consistency and dedication to this year-long project, as well as the evolution of images over time, really stuck with me. I was fortunate enough to be at the exhibition at Zen Photo Gallery in Tokyo when they talked about their work and where I got to see their fantastic images in person. Ever since visiting this exhibition, the thought of taking one photo a day really intrigued me, but I couldn't quite find the right tool to do so. Taking my phone didn't feel intentional enough. Using a camera as a dedicated device felt more right, but using an analog camera with film that still needed to be developed didn't feel instant enough. And a digital camera didn't give me the right form of tangibility. Therefore, my interest quickly landed on instant photography, but that would quickly draw me off again due to the costs. Even when calculating conservatively, it would cost me around €1 per shot. And, well, I wasn't really willing to pay over 360 euros per year for a casual documentation project. So when Maya took out this camera, snapped an image and handed it to me, I immediately knew that this was it. This is the ideal way of low cost, low profile, instant, immediate, unobtrusive and fun way of documentation I was looking for all this time. So ever since I got this camera, I bring it everywhere. And I also keep a little notebook and a pen in my bag. Similarly to writing into a journal or into a sketchbook, this little camera lets me document my days, acting as a visual diary. I take and print at least one photo a day. It doesn't matter if it's particularly meaningful, pretty, special, technically well exposed or whatsoever. All that matters is that I find something to photograph each day. Oftentimes I feel like my days are kind of repetitive and boring, especially when being at work all day. And on those days I feel like everything around me is repetitive and boring as well, oftentimes leading to me not taking any images in several days. And this photo project helped me to look around more carefully and mindfully, since there's always little things we haven't noticed before and new things to discover even in the familiar. Things to consider. When getting into thermal printing photography, there are a couple of things that you should be aware of. First and foremost, it's crucial to know that this medium is not archival safe, but your images will start to fade away after a while. You should be good for 1 or 2 years, maybe even longer if stored away from sunlight, but if there's any images that are super important to you, you should scan them before they start to vanish in front of your eyes. Also, I found huge differences in quality depending on the type of paper you use in these types of cameras. The thin paper that was included in the kit gave me the best results. The self-adhesive paper that I used for my one photo a day project is slightly thicker, which makes the camera struggle a bit more to get it out evenly. Also, this camera doesn't have many settings. You can choose between 2 different print modes, dotted or full print, and also choose the print density. I usually leave it on the low to medium density setting since it's rather contrasty anyway. Most of the times I use the full print since it gives me this dense, almost tri-X looking character, but for some prints I found the dotted setting to work better since it keeps up more of the details. But let's talk about the real deal now. How has this kid's toy camera changed my professional photography? I would say it has given me a sense of freedom that I didn't realize I was missing. By letting go of technical perfection, I've rediscovered the joy of photography, focusing more on the raw emotional connection to the images rather than the tech specs behind them. The one thing I didn't realize I was missing from time to time in my photography was fun. Pure, unfiltered fun. And this little toy camera reminded me of why I fell in love with photography in the first place. Capturing moments without overthinking every detail. And talking about fun, you certainly attract attention when running around with a pink dinosaur camera, so this thing has been a great conversation starter. And in all honesty, it happened more than once that I was in the position to take a portrait of a stranger and hand it to them, just like it was with my introduction to this camera, which kind of felt like a full circle moment. While I was working more and more with this camera, something magical happened. It made me more present in my photos. You see, when you don't have a big camera with millions of settings, you're forced to be creative with what's in front of you. You don't have the luxury of perfecting every shot, so you just take it as it is. And that rawness, that spontaneity really started influencing my professional work, letting me focus on simplicity, minimalism and the moment itself. Using this camera has helped me to focus on the essence of storytelling, just like Moriyama did, who captured moments not because they were technically perfect, but because they were real. The prints might not win any awards, but they've sparked some new ideas that definitely changed the way I shoot. In fact, I've used it to break free from creative blocks. The unpredictability of the thermal prints, sometimes a little too dark, sometimes a little too light, has inspired me to embrace imperfection in my photos. And guess what? Some of those mistakes led to the most loose and authentic shots I've taken in a while. By taking a step back and using a simple camera like this one, I found myself experimenting more with lighting and composition in ways that I haven't before. So for me, this camera is just the essence of going back to the basics and letting your creativity flow. So in case you're a photographer or if you just like to capture memories, I highly recommend to give this gadget a shot because it might change your perspective, just like it did for me. I will continue with my 1 photo a day project for a little while, but I already have a great use case for the camera once I'm done. Because this camera is actually a kid's toy camera, this is exactly what it will be used afterwards. I have an almost 4-year-old godchild, and my responsibility as an aunt self-evidently is to turn her into a photographer. But in all honesty, I think this camera with the low cost and instantness of the print is just a perfect camera to get started in photography and for kids to make their first baby steps in this medium. Also, my godchild is currently pretty obsessed with dinosaurs, so I hope that this one will be a great hit. And that being said, I would say thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.